Greetings, fans and fine folk. Grab your drinks and snacks and come on over to It's Alive with me and Adam, that guy.
Yo, it's me.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
What's cracking?
What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome to an It's Alive stream. Thank you for your patience. Twitch was having a Barney this morning. We were having a hard time going live.
It's odd because Twitch never has issues.
Nah, Twitch
like
is usually 100%.
It's usually absolutely perfect.
All of the time, 100% of the time.
Yeah, I know, which is really strange.
Yeah.
You didn't know it was both HO? Yes, it's both of us.
Both of us.
I'm gonna get Rob's pretty face on my upper screen up there so I can actually see Robert as well.
Hello. So we are doing an It's Alive, which is what I call my sessions where I create something for the world and bring it to life like an evil scientist. And today what we are making for the world, what we are making for the game of Dungeons and Dragons is a new playable race called the Murgols. And what are these Murgols going to be? Are they 100% new IP, not based on anything, right? That's
Oh yeah, man, definitely.
Definitely, new
that wouldn't
idea.
be based on something else from another IP, because Epic NPC Man would never do that.
No,
What?
that isn't definitely Epic NPC Man's
What?
main way of creating new things.
No, we wouldn't do that. No, the Murgols are basically, as I'm sure everyone can guess from the name, is our version of Murlocs from World of Warcraft.
Oh, I see the resemblance
Yeah,
in the
do you
name.
get it now, do you?
It's
Yeah.
like the L and the glottal consonant, and you swap them around.
Exactly. That's what we did. I know it's pretty sneaky. And people didn't
That's
notice.
pretty sneaky. It's really
People
hard to notice.
didn't notice. But actually, Murgols have been a part of the NPC Man universe for a long time. Like since
Yeah, man. I
like
remember hearing the name a few times in the various skits.
yeah. Since I think it's like episode like 30 or 35 or something around there. And they've been mentioned multiple times, specifically Murgol the Punisher, which
Murgol the
is
Punisher. Is that in the cave one where they summon a merchant and then they piss off they summon a merchant into a cave and then they go off to kill someone?
No, it's the Leroy Jenkins one.
Oh, the Leroy
but
Jenkins.
Still the cave one.
But yeah,
You're thinking
cave.
the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of the 2 cave episodes we did. Yeah, so that was the first time Murgol the Punisher was mentioned.
Well,
and has since been mentioned frickin' tons of times.
let's head over to the shared viewing screen that I have here then, and we'll make it nice and large for people to see. Boom. A new
Do you
playable
mean Murgol,
species.
Sonara, or Murlocs? Because Murgols don't have a sound yet. There you go.
The Murgol the Punisher, that's like and he is in Murgol, so it's like just calling him Human the Punisher.
Correct.
his name is Human the Punisher.
I kind of like the idea that the Murgols are sentient but not super smart, and as they get older they get bigger, but they also get marginally smarter. And Murgol the Punisher is getting so old now that he is a little bit smarter, and he just named himself after the race, basically. Or it could either be that, or human/elf/whoever just named him that, and he took the moniker as well.
Yeah. On screen, people can see some artwork of what a Murgol may look like, done by Ajo here. That's a regular Murgol in armor, and then down here we've got Murgol the Punisher. Boom.
And I've got him on my screen as well. Regular Murgol and Murgol the Punisher. And I imagine like a regular Murgol is like the height of a gnome, or
Right.
or a dwarf maybe. As I say, like as they get older, they get larger.
Yeah.
But being kind of semi-sentient creatures, they don't often get that old, but when they do, they get fucking enormous. And Murgol the Punisher is like triple the height of a human.
Okay, cool. Just taking notes as we talk so that I can flesh things out. So how a playable species stat block looks in D&D is that you've got the name of it here, and then we've got a big area for bump. So I've written down what you mentioned here, that they're sentient but not super smart, and they get smarter as they get older, wiser and whatnot. And then we've got room for writing other shit. Usually there's something about like what environment they're found in and what behavior and origin, appearance, culture, blah blah blah. But we'll start with this last thing, which is the traits. And for us, it's going to be Murgol traits. Murgol traits. Creature type. They're going to be humanoid because that's usually the creature type given to bipedal playable peoples.
Yeah.
And it can range from like orcs and gnomes and elves and
they're all called humanoid.
gnolls, and they're all humanoid.
That's racist, but here we
it
are.
is. Yeah, I've always said it's kind of a weird word for it. Very human centric. Then there is the size category. Is it are they small, medium, large, etc.? If they start as about the size of a gnome when they're young, then their size category would be small, and then I think if you wanted to play someone older, we could play them as medium as well. Like medium.
I think if we're just working, if we're initially just working on a normal Murgol, it would be size category small. Yeah.
And if we're how small do they get? Like 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot? Like what's
I reckon I'm not sure
when they're an adult.
When they're an adult, just when they're an adult,
I'd say we're looking at like when you're playing them as an adventurer, and you're unlikely to play them as a child.
Yeah, I'd say anywhere between kind of 2 feet and 3-4 feet maybe.
Yeah, cool. And then they get larger and larger. How old do they have to get before they are like? Are we talking like very few of them make it to adulthood? That's
I would say so. Well, like I would say adulthood is 2 to 4 feet, but then like an advanced age. You know how there's some creatures in the deep darks of the real world ocean that if they are allowed to keep living for a long time, they get fucking enormous.
No, there's something senescence. What's it called? Senescence. I can't remember. There's a name for that where creatures don't die of old age. There's no biological degradation over time.
Yeah.
So they live forever or until they have an accident or are killed.
Yeah. So I imagine that's what. So the adult one is 2 to 4 feet. So we are still working on an adult one as a normal Murgol. But So does that answer the question, or should we put more information in?
No, that's good. Small as an adult or medium for the rare case of an ancient member of the species.
I would. What's medium class? Is that like the size of a human? An actual
medium
human?
is it's a very broad category that goes from dwarves. Dwarves are technically medium because they are stocky. So even though they're 4 feet tall, they're stocky and weigh as much as a human. So anything from a dwarf to a Goliath is in the medium category.
I mean, I would say, I'm just seeing on your stream 4 to 5 feet. I'd say like 4 to 6 feet. Like an ancient one could get the size of an adult human.
Okay, cool. And then we go into speed, which is usually given in how fast they can walk on land and whether they have swim speeds and whatnot. Obviously, these guys would have swim speed. How fast do you imagine they're walking? Like relatively slow? Are they plodding, or are they like deceptively fast on their little clawed feet?
I mean, I guess in terms of making a balanced class, we could make it that their land speed is slightly slower than normal and their swim speed is faster than
that makes sense to me.
So what would be like 20 foot, and I don't know what's a fast swim speed?
30. Let's see, 35 or 40 would be the one you'd want to give them, unless we want.
Yeah, maybe 40. They are based off.
Yeah, 40's fine.
So Arthur, is there a term for fallen bipedal species besides humanoid? I don't know. Not that I know of.
There
might be.
I mean, if there was, I'd have come up with it by now. Like I've tried for a while. I've had that niggling doubt about the word for a while, and I've wanted another better term for it, but I can't think of one that works. then the lifespan. What sort of I can say Murgols do not die of genetic degradation.
Rather saying come up with one, Rob.
Yeah, I'll just make something up. Murgols do not die of genetic degradation, instead meeting their end through accident or murder. Pedestrianoids. Gross. It's not a nice word. Pedestrianoid.
Yeah, Serendale, I love the little cowering man in the sketch as well. It's very cute.
All right.
Also, I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but in the bottom drawing, the human-sized reference, I only noticed this yesterday when I was getting this ready for the stream. Is it's Greg the Garlic Farmer? It's the little it's the little shadow of the man. The little shadow is Greg the Garlic Farmer.
That's good. As a Murgle, you have these special traits. All right, so we've gone through creature type, size, speed, and lifespan. We need to talk about what special traits they have. Do they have dark vision? Are they able to see in low light? Are they adapted with their eyes to seeing in the low light of underwater or anything?
I can't imagine so.
No. Are they? So tell me a little about them first, actually, and that'll help us know what sort of traits to give them. What they're fish or they're amphibian?
Oh God, what's the difference?
So fish live.
New bedam coming up.
It's all good. Fish live solely underwater, and some fish can survive above water, but it's essentially like they're breathing. They're holding their breath rather. So like some mudfish and stuff can just about survive above the water, but they're not meant to be there. Amphibians are just at home in both. Frogs are amphibians because they can breathe underwater. They can breathe above water.
Cool. Yeah, so definitely amphibian then.
Amphibian.
Yeah, so my idea is that they would live on land. They, have little coastal towns and like beach towns, like right by the water.
Yeah.
And they would hunt and fish, I guess you'd call it, but in the water and spend a lot of time in the water. But yeah, necessarily they live on land.
Cool. Live in coastal towns on land, but spend a great deal of time in the water, fishing and swimming, and probably like hunting for pearls and things.
Yeah.
And harvesting. What do they call them? Is there a collective term for like barnacles and oysters and shellfish?
Yes, there are shellfish. That's probably the best one.
Shellfish. We'll get back to that. Blah blah blah. All right. So amphibious. The Murgol are you. Actually, it's usually written second person when it's a playable character. You can breathe air and water. Dark vision, you've said no, like they don't spend most of their time underwater, so it's not likely that they have developed particularly nice eyes for seeing. Have they got natural weapons? Where do they get do they claw and bite and scratch, or do they have to use weapons to attack? Obviously, Murgol's a big old beast, but...
Yeah, I think that they do a lot of biting and scratching and clawing. They've got nice little claws on them. Also, whether or not it's useful to say this now as well, is in my mind they're a cross between like dinosaur style lizards and fish.
Right, cool. That works. I'm just going to open up a couple of now that you've said that, I'm just going to open up a couple of things that might help us with inspiration. We've got kobolds, which are like little dragon people. We've got lizard folk, which are obviously lizards. I might grab the sea elf in case there's some aquatic things we want to take.
Useful,
and then there's a literal fish. there's a playable race called.
It's an actual fish.
Yep, it's literally a fish. What are they called again? The Locath. Where are they? Locath. There we are. These resilient and proud fish folk have endured war, slavery, and mistreatment at the hand of other aquatic creatures. And they've got a feature that's like, if you don't stay wet, you start taking damage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can breathe air and water, but you need to be submerged at least once every 4 hours to avoid suffocating.
The literally a fish thing is a reference to a funny video. Is it? Oh.
Literally a fish. Yeah, there's a D&D creator called Joe Cat who makes amazing videos, and he did a video called All of the Races, and he went through like the 100 fucking playable races that you can do in D&D, and he did like a little funny song/rap to it, and went through each of them, and then the sort of chorus, the verse on Lokath, he's like, "Lokath, there's a fish, literally just a fish. It's a fish." And then he kind of moved on. Alright, let's have a look at these things, see if there's anything that we could do to steal from any of them. One of them's got a bite, hasn't they? Lizard folks have got bite. Alright, let's have a look at the lizard folk bite. You've got a fanged maw that you can use to make unarmed strikes with. When you hit with it, the strike deals X amount plus your strength modifier, slashing damage instead of bludgeoning.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So if I grab that and take
that's a good idea. I reckon they'd have a bite and a scratch.
I will call it natural weapons. Natural weapons. I think I need to put them two of those now. You have a fanged maw and claws that you can use to make unarmed strikes. When you hit with either, the strike deals 1d6. That seems like a lot for them being tiny. 1d4 I think is better, more like a dagger. 1d4 plus your strength modifier, slashing damage instead of bludgeoning damage, normal from an unarmed strike. Easy peasy. Alright. So we've got that they're amphibious and they've got natural weapons. We need a couple more things for them.
Yeah, so I as you can tell by their bone armor that they've got, I think that they essentially find bone and driftwood and just random stones, anything that they can find along the coast, and they turn those into tools and weapons and whatnot. So, I mean, I guess they'd be reasonably good at that. So
that's good. There's something that's exactly that in the old version of the lizard folk. There's a legacy version that they don't use anymore, but they used to have an ability like that called Cunning Artisan. As part of a short rest, you can harvest bone and hide from a slain beast, construct, dragon, monstrosity, or plant to create one of the following items: shield, club, javelin, darts, blowgun, needles. So they basically kill something and then they can turn that thing into a shield or something.
Let's go.
So if I grab that and we can reword a little bit of it.
I'm going to mute myself for half a second and do an Instagram story, which I forgot to do earlier. 1 second, just so I don't annoy you in the stream as I do an Instagram story.
What are they going to be called? They're going to be called...
BRB.
All good. I'm going to call them opportunistic scavengers rather than cunning artisans because it's more of the flavour. Opportunistic scavengers.
Cha 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 cha. I have to do that thing where I go put all of the relevant information into. Damn, that's so smooth. Dark Harem, I'm very used to doing Instagram stories these days. They come pretty naturally.
Fix or maintain.
But only me is Rob a little bit too quiet. He probably is a little bit too quiet. I'll turn him up. There you go.
Is this better?
Yeah, that was a lot better actually.
Oh, sweet.
No, you know what? Now that you mention it.
Was it a little bit too loud? Alright, so I have grabbed the, well, now I'm awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have grabbed the, I've grabbed the thing from the lizard folk, the old lizard folk, cunning artisan, and I've renamed it opportunistic scavengers, and then I've just added in that they can use it to fix their armor as well. As part of a short rest, you can harvest bone and hide from a slain beast, construct, dragon, monstrosity, or plant creature of size small or larger to create one of the following items: a shield, a club, a javelin, 1d4 darts, or blowgun needles. Alternatively, you can use this feature to fix or maintain one set of armor. To use this, one set of appropriate armor.
How does that work? This is literally just out of interest for me. How does that work? Like, once you create it, how do you know what stats that weapon gets?
There's a section of the player's handbook that tells you about the different table of weapons and what each of them does. Like
so you could theoretically make a very good weapon.
None of those are very good weapons. Clubs, javelins, and darts, and blowguns are all considered simple weapons. You couldn't like none of those that I've listed are martial weapons. But if you want them to be able to make martial weapons, I could add that in.
No, not necessarily. I think that in my mind, especially just normal adult Murgols are probably trash mobs for the most part.
Yeah, I figured. All right. All of those things you would imagine they would use though. They would know how to wield a shield, like a simple shield from things, and a club, a javelin, darts, and needles. Yep.
Cool. Javelin includes spear, because I imagine spear would. Yeah.
I'll add that in as well. That is technically a separate weapon, but I've never understood why, because they're the same stats and everything.
A lot of the cookies. Who came up with the idea for the Murgols? I think it must have been me, because I wrote that skit that they first appear in, the one we talked about before, the Leroy Jenkins one. So I would have just been like, I need a bad guy to be talking about Murgol the Punisher. There it is, done.
Murloc the Punisher. I can't just say Murloc.
I can't say that, damn it. I'm just going to swap one consonant. Here we go.
Alright, we have the opportunistic scavengers. They have natural weapons and amphibious. They're starting to sound like the old lizard folks, because they've got the bite and the cunning artisan, and the lizard folk used to be able to hold their breath for 15 minutes, which was basically the same mechanically as being able to breathe underwater, because you just don't have to think about it. So in that respect, if they balanced it nicely here, then that means that we can use this to see what else they've got to balance with. The lizard folk also got proficiency with a couple of skills, and they had natural armor, and they could do a bonus action bite. So we can give them a couple more things before we're overbalanced with them. Tell me a bit more about their lore and what we can expect from them.
So I imagine that they kind of like what we were saying before, essentially their whole vibe is just their little scavengers. They're like rats, but fish versions of it. Their whole vibe is just to get shinies, collect things, find stuff. As you're saying before, probably literal shinies, like trying to find pearls, and they probably steal things that are not necessarily useful to them. Like they'll just steal like mirrors and mugs and plates and chinaware if they manage to get into a human settlement.
There's a race called a Tabaxi, which is basically cat people, and they have a similar kind of a thing where it's like they love to just take stuff just for the sake of taking it. It even says like they might spend a year planning the perfect heist to steal a gem, just to give that gem away as like payment for the next job or whatever. Just because once they've got it, they don't give a shit about it.
WoW has a lot of scavenger type creatures. They do actually, yeah. They sound like bullywugs, yeah. I guess a little bit.
Oh yeah, and
or magpies,
have a similar thing. Yeah, bullywugs have a similar thing. I don't remember if bullywug's actually a playable thing. Let me have a look. What does it say here? So, fleeting fancies, wandering tabaxi are mercurial, trading one obsession or passion for the next as the whim strikes. Objects remain intriguing to them only as long as they still hold secrets. A tabaxi rogue could happily spend months plotting to steal a strange gem from a noble, only to trade it for passage on a ship after stealing it. So it sounds something a little like that, don't they?
Yeah.
And bullywugs. Blue Oaks love that shit. All that stealing stuff. Okay. So I love shiny things. So so they have natural
I don't
for...
necessarily like the trading thing doesn't quite resonate with me. Like it would be more like steal a gem to frickin' use it as their door handle or something.
Yeah.
Or like literally just hammer it into the floorboards of their rickety home on
yeah. They're just like, oh, that's a nice shield because it'll fix up that hole in my wall.
Exactly, yeah.
Are they particularly good at stealing then because they do it so often?
Yeah, they
be...
probably are because they're small and slippery and they can get into little crevices here and there. They probably are.
Thieves.
What are these drawings, boardroom? These are drawings of Murgols, which is the fake race that we are making up for NPC Man at the moment. And they're drawn by Ajo, who's in the chat at the moment. So, big shout out to Ajo for doing these drawings for us. They're freaking awesome. Yes, who are very similar to kobolds from WoW as well, who are like, their candles are their precious.
Proficient in one of the following skills of your choice. Stealth, sleight of hand, or acrobatics, maybe, for getting in and out of things and slipping out.
Saw someone asking in your chat, is it only for NPC Man D&D or also for Epic NPC Man skits? Kind of for both. Obviously all the stats we're doing are for D&D. If we ever encounter
but helping to flesh out the lore of them and stuff is going to be useful for actually using them as a more than two-dimensional monster in the skits.
Exactly.
Due to your nature of taking things that catch your eye.
Am I going to play one at some point, Fancy? Oh, maybe.
I mean, you could now that we've got the stats. Could be a backup character or a temporary character or for the PvP or something. You could, or like one shots.
Yeah, we put. Oh my god, a one shot where we play a group of Murgols trying to pull off a heist or something.
That does sound very fun. Having you all play Murgols.
A group of Murgols trying to pull off a heist, trying to steal something from like Barad-dûn in the Temple of Calibor or something.
Alright, we got amphibious, you can breathe air and water. We've got rid of the natural weapons. We've got we included the natural weapons already. Opportunistic scavengers, and we've got thievery skills. So when you take this race, when you choose to play this race, you get a free proficiency, acrobatics, sleight of hand, or stealth. To make you
I don't know what would be able to do Serendella. It would either be costumes or we just wouldn't do... If it was a one-shot, we probably just wouldn't do green screen otherwise.
Yeah. You just lean into it and just have, like, cheapo fish masks or something.
Yeah.
Just have one of those, like one of these bone masks that's like the armor.
I could play Murgol the Punisher for the Battle Royale at PAX. I still haven't really decided who I'm going to play. I told Rob that I'm going to play Barad-dûn, but I have been thinking that maybe I should play Jeff.
Level 20 Jeff.
A level 20
just
Jeff.
Saving the world, kicking ass.
Yeah. Are the human silhouettes there to show size? Yes, only size of Murgol the Punisher, though. They're the big boss. If you jump on over to Rob's stream, you'll see that their size category is actually small for a normal Murgol.
Kobolds. Let's have a look. They've got the craftiness, lizard fox, holding breath, natural armor, intuition, sea elves. What have they got? Breathing air and water. Resistance to any particular type of damage that you can imagine, like doing cold damage to them does nothing, or like.
Yeah, I guess.
What's the?
What would be normal for an amphibian? Cold probably sounds about right.
Yeah, I just got it because the sea elf apparently is resistant to cold damage.
Yeah, I reckon would go down a similar route.
Yeah, that could help us with certain things. What does it call it in this? Child of the sea rather than amphibious. Ocean divers, I'll call it. You can breathe air and water and have resistance to cold damage and cold damage. In addition, you have advantage on any saving throw made to resist the effects of high pressure.
Apparently, some 24 mushrooms in chat saying water genocide are resistant to acid rather than cold, which is interesting. Wonder why that would be.
Water genasi. Yeah, I don't know why that would be.
Is that how you pronounce it, genasi?
Nobody really knows. It's really down to a GIF situation. People call them genasi or ganassi. I say genasi because they spawn from genies. So genie, genasi makes more sense to me.
I think cold is probably the best way to go.
Yeah. And then I've given them advantage on saving throw made to resist any high pressure environments. So if they go underwater and everybody else in the party's like, oh my ears. But these guys.
I also imagine they have that thing that some amphibians and like they can compress their body to get through tight spaces as well.
Oh right. So they can squeeze through smaller things.
Yeah, it's smaller than the actual size of their body.
Does. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
We will call I'll call that feature compressible.
So if they do want to get in somewhere and steal something, they can get through a hole much smaller than themselves.
You can squeeze through a gap as small as two size categories. Mind you, technically speaking, but it'd be me using them, so trivial is a size category I use, yeah. Size categories smaller than yourself, and that way it
Lady Gwen saying should call that skill slippery. I kind of like it.
Slippery.
I kind of like that actually.
Slippery also also gives the indication that they are hard to grapple. Is that something that we should do?
Yeah, I would say that one that's not wearing armor is probably quite hard to grapple.
Yeah.
They'd be slimy like a fish.
While you are not wearing armor,
yeah,
you can squeeze through a gap as small as two size categories smaller than yourself.
So Arthur, we've made it not OP by saying that they can't be wearing armor while they're doing it.
Yeah.
So
without suffering the usual setbacks of squeezing. I've made it one size category smaller than yourself, but I've also said that you don't suffer the usual setbacks, so you can still squeeze through size category 2 sizes smaller, but you will suffer the setbacks.
Okay.
So the setbacks of squeezing, like anybody can squeeze through a size category smaller than themselves, but they have disadvantage on all the attacks and things while they're doing so. So if you're fighting a troll or whatever, and you can lure it into a medium-sized tunnel, then the troll's fucked because it can't swing at you and stuff. And likewise, these guys can. If their size category is small, they can go through a tiny space without suffering those issues, and they can go through a trivial space without, but they still suffer the setback of going through it.
Cool.
In addition, you have advantage on acrobatics, on dexterity acrobatics checks, on dexterity acrobatics checks made to escape a grapple.
Serendell is saying that we should make Murgols massively OP because it's going to be Barradoon and the dickheads dealing with them anyways.
Just make them one hit you. Alright, so let's have a little recap. So they're humanoid, they're small, 2 to 4 feet as an adult, or medium, 4 to 6 feet for the rare case of an ancient member. Speed of 8 meters or 25 feet. Swim speed of 40 feet. Murgols do not die of genetic degradation, instead meeting their end through accident or murder. As a Murgol, you have these special traits. Ocean divers. You can breathe air and water and have resistance to cold damage. In addition, you have advantage on any saving throw made to resist the effects of high-pressure environments. Natural weapons. You have a fanged maw and claws that you can use to make unarmed strikes. When you hit with either, the strike deals 1d4 plus your strength modifier slashing, instead of the bludgeoning damage normal for an unarmed strike. Opportunistic scavengers. As part of a short rest, you can harvest things from a slain thing to make a bunch of things. Alternatively, you can use this feature to fix or maintain one set of appropriate armor. To use this trait, you need a blade, such as a dagger, or appropriate artisan tools, such as the leatherworker's tools, or a battle axe, or a hammer.
Just a knife, anything.
Just any fucking knife.
Just fucking make something up.
Thievery skills. Due to your nature of taking things that catch your eye, you are proficient in one of the following skills. And then slippery. While you're not wearing armor, you can squeeze through a gap as size category smaller. I think we're good. I think if we give them any more, we start to get into the overpowered thing, which is fine if that's the way we want to go. But like, just
as I say, I most certainly imagine them as a bit of trash mobs, unless you meet some older ones, in which case they're probably a little bit more.
Yeah. Do we give them anything like the Lukath that says like you need to be submerged in water every 4 hours to avoid suffocating? Do they need to keep wet? Do they need anything like that?
I hadn't imagined. It makes sense, but I hadn't imagined that.
Can they keep themselves wet? Like they can exude water? Or do they need to drink more than others just so that they've got the water in this body or anything like that?
Yeah.
If it's not like a major thing, then we can just leave it for.
I think it's not a major thing.
Then self-lubricating. Yeah.
Lish has a good idea. When mounted as a trophy, Murgol sings "Don't worry, be happy." Yeah. Right. And yes, my family didn't have any of those singing fish toys, but I have seen them.
Yeah,
and they're fucking horrible. I don't know why anyone.
I had one that sung "Rock the Boat, rock the boat, baby." There
must be a reason for them living near the coast. I'd said they are amphibians. They're coastal creatures. Yeah.
Preference. They making the most of the fact that they can live near the ocean and hunt and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good. Do we have any subspecies of them? Are there different kinds of Murgles that you'd find in different places? Are there like saltwater Murgles and freshwater Murgles or anything like that?
Yeah, I guess there would be. There'd be river Murgles. There'd be.
And would they have different traits? Like, would they just be different in terms of like appearance and flavor, or would they actually have? You can play a river Murgle and you'd have a different experience to if you were playing a saltwater Murgle.
Yeah, you probably would. Is that going to be too much of an issue and would have to create a completely new?
No, because basically how the subspecies works is that you just tack it on the end here and you say Murgles exist in a I can't remember how they word it, but I'll look it up, blah blah blah. We've got, what are we thinking? Saltwater, freshwater and swamp water or something, or just saltwater, freshwater, or
yeah, I reckon we go saltwater, freshwater, swamp water, and what's the word for like living in the mountains? Mountain water.
Yeah, we could do that. Mountain.
Because I imagine there could be like an interesting tribe of Murgols that live like in a high up mountain lake in the snow, so they're resistant to like ice and.
Excellent. And then all you do is you go down here, you grab that, and you go salt water. Is salt water? When you're talking about salt water, it's just one word, isn't it? Saltwater fish, saltwater toffee.
I think the normal Murgols, ones we've been working on so far, are saltwater. They're ocean Murgols.
Okay, yeah. So we can give so what we'll do is I'll grab the ocean diver thing, and I'll take it down to saltwater. And you only get that if you're a saltwater Murgol.
Yeah.
I'll take them back to being amphibious, because all of them are going to be amphibious regardless.
Yeah. They could be like archerfish, and when in water, the Murgol spit water at their prey to knock them in the water. There's what are the oh God, I can't remember what they're called. There's some bad guys in Breath of the Wild that do that as well. Really fucking annoying.
Saltwater Murgol.
What's this, Muff Cabbage? We're making stat blocks for the race, the fictional race in the NPC Man universe, Murgols, which we've talked about Murgol the Punisher quite a bit. Who's this dude just here? So me and Rob streaming, coming up with their history, their backstory, their attacks, their culture, their everything.
Related to the environment they have spent the most time.
I think you're multi-classing. I doubt it. I don't think so. I think Barradoon is so egotistical is not the right word. So single-minded that he would never think about multi-classing out of Sorcerer.
I think you mishaps. Alright, so we've got saltwater. The ocean divers have resistance to cold damage and advantage on saving throws against high-pressure environments. What else would the saltwater guys have that the other Murgols wouldn't?
Yeah.
Are we thinking for all of them that they are all amphibious? They all have the natural weapons, the bites. They're all good at scavenging stuff to make.
Yeah, I think everything we put up the top is probably
the thievery
right
skills
for all of
and
them.
the slippery. The fact that they can squeeze. And then we just need to differentiate the saltwater, the freshwater, and all of those things for the different stuff that they can do in each. Freshwater.
Narcissistic's the right word. Brun, brass axe, yeah.
Saltwater, freshwater, marsh Murgol, a marsh Murgol, and a mountain Murgol.
I like the idea, Red Isle, is it how you'd say that? About dominating small fish ability for saltwater. I don't know how you'd use that.
Oh yeah. There's a thing that's I think the Triton has that. Oh no, the Friend of the Sea elf has it. Aquatic animals have an extraordinary affinity with your people. You can communicate simple ideas to any beast that has a swimming speed. If it can understand your words, you have no special ability to understand it in return. So if you can grab that and then just get rid of that last bit. Just for saltwater, so the freshwaters can't do it with their fish.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Cool. We will call it.
I love some fish fried or with lemon pepper. I imagine Murgols probably taste really nice, and probably humans and elves and stuff would kill Murgols and eat them. I imagine they're a delicacy. Maybe make some fish flesh out of them.
Fishy friends, I'll call them fishlish. Yeah, fishlish out of Murgols. Murgol fishlish.
Murgol fishlish.
Interesting connotations around eating things that are sentient in D&D.
Yeah.
There's always a lot of conversations about that and debates about like, is it cannibalism if you're eating another humanoid but they're a different species?
Yeah.
Like, is an elf eating a dwarf? Is an elf eating a dwarf cannibalism? It kind of feels like it should be, but then technically different species. So.
Yeah. As the picture to scale, so we've been talking about this Dan's days, is a normal Murgol is like the height of a gnome or a dwarf. But Murgol the Punisher, this big boy down here, which is the boss, is like 3 times the height of a human. So yes. Scary.
Alright, I've got fishy friends. Aquatic animals have an extraordinary affinity with your people. You can communicate simple ideas to any beast that has a swimming speed. Do we want like an innate, you can use this trait once per day to try and dominate a sea creature?
Yeah, I would say so.
Take over them, yeah.
Yeah.
You can... Sup, Potatosaurus, how's it going? Could have better vision when I think of scuba diving in the ocean versus lake. The vision is clearer. Vision is clearer in the ocean, is it? You can...
Well, you need clearer vision in the ocean, I guess is what I mean.
Swimming speed. You can use this trait to attempt to cast...
Dan Days, head on over to Rob's stream. He is working on the stat block at this very moment. Tuatha, could we get a link up to Rob's stream, please?
Beast on such a creature. Using your charisma modifier.
Oh yeah, we should stream in squad mode. That's not a bad idea.
Charisma modifier.
Um, Rob, I'm gonna send you an invite to squad mode.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Once you have used this trait
on tickety boo.
this way, you must finish a short rest, long rest. Dominant beast per short rest. I think it's going to be a long rest. For attempting it again.
I have sent you an invite.
Thank you. On Discord, presumably.
On no, on Twitch.
On Twitch. Okay, so I need to get into Twitch.
Got your stream manager. Be in there.
One of these.
Hello, Jace Diego. Hello, Jace Diego. I wish I could do concept art like Ajo. Dang, she's good. I wish I could as well.
Stream manager.
See you, Lish.
Where would I find it under my stream manager?
So in all of those pink...
Start squad stream.
There it is.
There it is. Boom. Invites. Accept.
There it is. Okay, you can do the Watcher /squad or Robert Hartley GM /squad, and it'll get both of us cranking at the same time.
Look at that. Bloody magic. Bloody
magic.
Int milk, brilliant. Alright, we've got the saltwater ocean divers and have fishy friends. That's good. I like that. Two things per sub race is good. Just differentiates them from each other a little.
Yeah.
So we need some freshwater things, some marsh water things, and some mountain things.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of like mountain things to do with like cold and caves and rocks and living in a harsher.
Mountains should also have the things that Goliaths have acclimated to higher climates. Resistance to cold damage. What would it be? Races. Goliaths.
And then Rel Mono saying marsh could be poisons, resistance to poisons and acids and that kind of jazz.
Goliaths, here we go. Goliaths have a mountain-born thing. You have resistance to cold damage and naturally accumulated to high altitudes. Even if you've never been to one, this includes elevations above 20,000 feet. So we'll copy that. Let's just steal it straight across. Mountain-born. You have resistance to cold damage. I don't even think we need to change any of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Saltwater Murgols. Welcome to all these new people in the chat that I'm seeing, by the way. Sorry that I'm not paying you all attention because I'm busy trying to focus on my work.
Trying to focus on writing.
But if you like D&D and you like Viva, oh boy, have we got the channel for you.
Have we got them? Oh my god.
If you like Viva and you like D&D, I do D&D related content here on Robert Hartley GM several times a week. One of which is a watch party of the latest Viva La Dirt League episode. So and we watch it through and we talk about it. And
you are all the behind the scenes secrets that even us players don't get sometimes unless we're watching the stream.
Yep. You guys know things that the players don't because of behind the screens. I give you secrets. Saltwater Murgles live oceans and are adapted to spending time at sea level, etc. Blah blah blah. Mountain Murgles are adapted to life in high altitude springs.
Like I could even imagine, like you know those monkeys in Nepal that live in hot springs.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not like they live in hot springs when in the mountains type thing.
Yeah, that could be cool. Is there something we can do with that? Because we've got the cold damage just because it is cold up there. So getting in and out of hot springs into snowy terrain is pretty fucking and pretty nasty on your body.
Yeah.
So they're resistant to cold damage, but they I can just put it as the flavor text that they tend to create communities around hot springs.
In these subspecies, would you ever give them like an extra like ability or attack or something? Like
Yes, yeah. You give them whatever you want, really, and then it's a case of balancing it with the other ones so that all the subspecies get a little bit of something.
I realize this might be unbalanced, but like, could you give them some type of like blowhole attack or spit attack where they can spit hot water at you or something?
Yeah, we could do that. So they can. Yeah, okay. So they hot springs.
If they're a certain, maybe to nerf it a little bit, if they're a certain distance from their home and they've been holding some water inside them for a while.
Yeah, they have developed. It's easy enough to do, because there is actually precedent for that in a monster called the salamander, or the fire snake. Which one of the two? I think it's the fire snake actually. Let me check the salamander first.
Yes, Rollermono, they had a massive upriver migration salmon style, ended up in the mountains, and went, I might just live here. It's quite nice.
It's not the salamander, is it? It's not the fire snake either, because those are the young salamanders. What's the other one that I keep forgetting them? I keep mistaking.
See a bagel. Thanks for coming.
Let's let a bagel. Oh, bagel! Before you go, I've got a question for you. Never mind.
You asshole.
What is the one that fights the salamanders called? I always forget. Let me look them up. Under elemental.
That action should be canon for the mountain dwellers. Yeah. Okay. That's how the mountain Murgols speak.
What do they speak? What do they do?
I can't remember what I was doing a silly accent as I was like, yes, we should migrate up the.
Right.
River.
Yeah. No, yes.
Yeah, well.
I was thinking we should try some spring water.
Yes, it's lovely, darling.
Lovely. It's lovely.
So all the other Murgols like. But these ones are like, yes, well.
This is why they moved up the mountains.
Yes. We're much better than those ocean Murgols. Yes.
You can't be dealing with those.
I was doing a different accent, I'm pretty sure, but I like that now.
Where the fuck? I must have jumped over them. What are they called? Someone in the chat help me out.
Sorry, Quilo, I'm not Alan. I'm Adam. But welcome anyway. I know we are both basic white boys, but, you know, here we are.
Basic white boys. They drink with the pinky out. Yes.
Lola Cookie's asking a good question. How old does a Murgol need to be to reach medium size, and how big are they when they're born? I reckon it's very similar to other amphibians. They are like teeny tiny, like tadpoles when they're born. God, yeah, like probably need to be like 100 to get medium size. Actually, that sounds unfair. 50 to be medium size.
Lifespan Murgles do not die after genetic duration, instead meeting their end through accident or murder. Some live as long as... Is Murgol the Punisher like one of the oldest?
I would say, due to his size, he would be like 300 years old. But like an old Murgol is 50 to 100 years old. Like the medium class size ones.
For that reason, Murgol is considered old by around 50 years. Some live as long as Murgol the Punisher, who is said to be over 300 years old.
I also love the idea that, you know, you could have some Murgols who are like 75, 100 years old, and they've kind of been a little bit book learned, and they haven't, like, you know, they live in Older Keep or something, and they've become they've become like a freaking magician or something and learned a little bit of magic, and
they've kept themselves alive because they're a little bit smarter and have avoided combat and stuff. But they've managed to
kind of stopped living near the coast and integrated into normal humanoid society.
Lived in a library. I just had the picture of them being like the episode of Rick and Morty where they go into the detox chamber, and there's that guy there that's like and speaks like he's got a glob of phlegm, and the Murgols are just talking to people like that, and they're like, oh yeah.
And he's in some like learned librarian robes or something, carrying around a book, going,
and everybody's like, "Oh God, oh shut up!" So
can you not spit on the books?
That's why he took a vow of silence and went and studied in a library where people turn to shush. Spitfire. So I just grabbed Spitfire from some precedent here of a monster called a Fire Newt Warrior. It says the Fire Newt spits fire at a creature within 10 feet of it. The creature must make a dexterity saving throw, taking 2d8 fire damage on a failed save or half as much on a success, and it recharges when they have a rest.
We just change fire to hot water.
Yeah, we'll change that to hot water. They still take the fire damage because it's heat, and then it recharges when they take a rest. Take a rest in a hot spring.
Do they keep growing like their entire life like crocodiles? Yeah, so the 500-year-old, we've just said 300-year-old gargantuan Murgol is Murgol the Punisher, that's a picture of right there, right next to me. So yes, that's something we've been working on, is generally they don't get much older than about 50, at which point they're the height of like a gnome or a dwarf. But if they do get older than 50, they just keep on growing.
You can spit boiling hot water at a creature within 10 feet of you. The creature must make must make a dexterity saving throw.
I would love to make a 100-year-old like freaking wizard Murgol or something. That'd be hilarious.
We definitely should do it. We could. I really genuinely like the idea of the heist with all of you playing Murgols.
Yeah, that would be funny. Once we're into the studio, do a one shot of us doing a Murgol heist.
Man, I've got so many ideas, and I'm like, when's the fucking studio? We need to be playing all these things.
Early next year. It's happening.
A dexterity saving throw using your DC.
What gorgeous concept art. Yes, Venom Rat, you have Ajo to thank for that, doing this concept art. It's beautiful.
8 plus your proficiency bonus.
I think Ben has a wizard pick that would fit with that.
Plus
he does.
Your 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your
Ruin Dragon wants to know what software you're using there, Rob.
This is a website called homebrewery.naturalcrit.com, and it formats it into like the D&D standard of 5e. It makes it look like it's an official thing.
Yeah. Floppy Seagull saying that everything that they have proficiency in should be spelt pro-fish.
Easy calculator, proficiency bonus plus your dexterity modifier. Taking 2d8 fire damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. Once you have used this trait, once you've used this trait, you must finish a short or long rest in a hot pool before using it again. So the mountain ones I think are done. They've got resistance to cold damage. They also have I didn't finish the month there. Resistance to cold damage, acclimated to high altitudes above 20,000 feet, and once per rest, if they're resting in hot water, they can spout a big spurt of water at somebody and cause them some heat damage.
I wonder if we make the marsh ones very similar in a way that they have like an acid spit and resistance to poisons and that kind of jazz.
We could do that, yeah.
So basically, do the same deal as mountain, but instead of cold, it's acid. It's poison and acid, and then instead of spitting hot, spit spitting acid.
What's a word for like a acidic bog? Is there something for that? Like a... I'll just call it bog-born for now. That's gross.
I like that.
Rob, you did mention that you want everyone to DM a one-shot at some point. Do you think Rowan would be willing to learn the rules? And I don't think he'd be willing to learn the rules.
He wouldn't learn the rules, and that would be the funny part.
Yeah, that would be what makes it funny. Like, that's why I'm excited for Rowan's one-shot when I eventually make him do it, because he won't learn the rules and he'll just, like, wing it as we go, and it'll be fucking hilarious.
And that'll be the fun part. Gruen Dragon raising a good point that it could be poison cloud instead of spitting acid, since a lot of swamps release methane.
Right, yeah.
That'd be a way to go.
That could work. You have resistance to poison damage, and then exude poison, exude stink cloud, exude poison, something like that. We can name shit later. The naming is not the important part. You can.
Oh no, the text is going over the image.
I know.
No, my OCD. No, my OCD.
I need to remember how to do that. I think you can do it just like naturally, but we need no point fixing it now because I haven't finished freshwater yet.
Yeah. It'll just fuck up later. Yeah.
You can emanate a cloud of poison to a 10.
Are these guys new races for D&D? You guys also got something planned with this? Basically new races for D&D, but also it's just nice to start doing a bit more world building for the NPC main universe. We've always mentioned Murgols and Murgol the Punisher, so we thought it might be high time to actually
you can emanate a cloud of poison
flesh them out a bit more.
Cloud radius of yourself as an action. All creatures in that area must succeed on a constitution saving throw. DC calculated as 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your constitution modifier. Taking that's a bit too much for this because it's an area of effect, so that's going to be a 7 2d6 2d6 poison damage. Potion damage, poison damage. Thank you.
I didn't say potion damage.
I'm gonna increase this. Taking damage equal to your level. What's that gonna do if I make it equal to your level? 20 points of damage, 2 points of damage. 2d8 is already anywhere between 2 and 16. Spit water. Taking fire damage equal to what sort of things do you get for a race usually?
Fluffy Seagull Man saying, "Imagine having a deep world lore before DMing in that world. Wouldn't that be fun, Rob?"
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be fun?
We've got such a deep lore. It's not like the whole basis of the NPC Man universe is making it up as we go along. What?
No, you can definitely not tell that from words like Schmagenrog.
We don't make everything up as we go along. What?
It definitely is not as fun to DM a campaign for 2 years and get 100 episodes in before we then sit down and talk about the religion and the planes and how that world works.
We're not laying the train tracks as the train's going down them. What? No.
It's a very fun GM experience to have to retcon things that you've set up in earlier episodes because people at the table have suddenly changed the lore on you. It's a great experience. What was I looking up? I was looking up something from the. I wanted the.
We don't make up as we go along. We have a writing room, and we sometimes use that writing room
as a storage room.
Yeah.
Asima, that's what I was looking up. Let's see what people can do.
Hey, Andy Bandy.
Surely that would never happen. We need to hurry up and flesh out the world, make a D&D installment so I can throw money at you all. Yeah, we need to turn it into a setting book at some point.
Oh, and I would love to do that.
Yeah, man.
I would absolutely love to do that.
When they do Celestial Resistance, where is it? Necrotic Shroud, this is what I was looking at. Nope, not that one. Radiant Soul, is that what I was looking at? Extra radiant damage equals to your level. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for precedent as to what sort of damage we can do as a race.
Right.
Radiant damage, extra radiant damage equal to your level. Yeah, extra radiant damage equal to your level. So I think that's what I'll do. I think I'll go back to here and I'll take out the dice and I'll say taking fire damage equal to your level. So if you're a level 7 Murgol, you can do the hot water spit for 7 points of damage.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
And as you get higher and higher, you can do more and more damage with it.
It's fishlish baby Murgols. We're talking about this before, that you could make fishlish out of Murgols, presumably. And that maybe people do, and it's a bit of a delicacy. It's a little bit horrible making.
And then there's like a Greenpeace equivalent, or like a PETA equivalent that's Murgols are people.
They're sentient. You shouldn't be using them for food.
And then they've got like a Murgol with them that's like.
Wait, sorry. What did he say?
And people are like, you're really not helping our cause here. You're really kind of undermining what we're trying to do. Could you just look pretty, please? Half damage on a successful one once you are on a failed save. Actually, I'm going to take out the half damage thing because it's an area of effect. So this trait, you must finish a short or long rest in a swamp before using it again. In murky water, I'll say. In murky water.
Fish are friend. Fish, not food.
Alright, so Marsh have currently got that they're resistant to poison damage and they can emit a cloud of poison once per day, or once per rest between murky water rests. Mountains have resistance to cold damage and can emit boiling water once per rest in a hot pool. We could do a similar thing for fresh and salt, but currently salt is a little different because we've got that they have resistance to cold. So everybody has a resistance to a particular damage, and freshwater should probably have the same.
Yeah. Oh God, what would it be?
Resistance to. Let me have a look at the. Somebody said that the Genasi have resistance to acid damage, which is interesting. You do wash if you get acid on you in a chemistry lab, don't you? You wash your hands.
Yeah.
To wash the acid off, but acid can react with water. I don't know. I don't know if acid damage makes sense or whether it's just like a. It kind of makes sense enough to deal to do with it.
Pablo, who made the art? Aja made the art, and it's freaking amazing. So thank you again, Aja, for making the art. Yeah, freshwater's a tough one.
We don't have to give them a resistance, but it means that we have to kind of balance it. Give them something that's as good as having a resistance.
I wonder if we... Because what freshwater bait would be lakes and streams, wouldn't it?
Yeah, lakes and streams, rivers. Acid resistance might be because of oily skin, Rolol Mono says. Acting as a repellent or a barrier to it. Could resist blunt damage, Tiger says, because they're squishy. They're squishier than the other types.
Yeah, could do.
Nitric acid did used to be known as strong water. Really? Strong water. Mark says they're like the giant tortoise, where they tried to get a specimen back to the UK for research and naming, but they keep eating them on the way.
Yeah, I love that story so much.
Crazy,
oh my God.
The time between discovering their existence and actually documenting them back in the UK.
Raw the Lurker saying instead of Peter, it's EATM. Everyone against tasting Murgols, but it's an unfortunate group name because if you say that, it's eat 'em. I like that. That's great. Freshwater's not that different to saltwater regarding resistant, or is that too lame? Yeah,
We don't have to like
maybe.
we don't have to
We also
have
don't have to have fresh water.
we don't have to have freshwater as a race. We could also merge saltwater and freshwater and just call them like lowland water or something like that. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's the best idea, because everything I'm thinking about for fresh water is pretty similar,
pretty similar.
essentially.
We'll get rid of freshwater then for now and just say that there's saltwater, marsh, and mountain because mountain water is freshwater and marsh water is
Yeah.
usually freshwater. So we've kind of just
Yeah,
split
exactly.
freshwater into these two.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 3 types of Murgols, which is good because that's you usually have 3 subspecies of a thing.
Yeah.
So we've got saltwaters, which have resistance to cold damage and ocean environments, and they have affinities for aquatic animals. They can cast Dominate Beast once a day.
Mm-hmm.
Marsh Murgols have resistance to poison damage and can emanate a cloud of poison once per day, and mountain Murgols have resistance to cold damage and hot water spit once per day. Cold damage, poison damage, and cold damage.
Is it weird to have 2 of them have cold damage, or are we fine with that?
I think we're okay with that. We can let's see. If we wanted to get rid of it, then we could switch the resistance to cold damage for something else for the saltwater, because I think it makes more sense for the mountain-born being up there.
Yeah.
What else would it be? Resistance to high pressure environments. The breathing. They could maybe cast. Maybe the saltwaters are a little bit more casters. They've already got the Dominate Beast possibility. They could potentially cast water breathing on their party once per day, like so they can extend their water breathing to somebody else.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I'll get rid of the cold damage.
I feel like it is the ocean ones that would spend more time underwater, seeing they have deeper. So that's not a bad idea.
Made to resist the effects of high pressure environments. I'm going to put it as... So there's 2 ways I could go about this, and one of them is a little bit more interesting. The other one's a little simpler. So the simpler way is to just allow them once per day you can cast water breathing using your just innate abilities. And the other option is they don't cast water breathing, but they just... you can breathe underwater if you're within 30 feet of them. Like, so that you have to stay within 30 feet while you're swimming with them, and then there's some things that can happen there, some interesting things if somebody like drags them away from you. You've got to try and swim to keep up because
I kind of quite like that. That's a cool idea.
Amphibious aura.
I'm sorry, Dragons Are Hungry. We're still working on the text. It's not been fixed over the image. It will be soon, I swear.
Amphibious. No, I'm just gonna leave it. Amphibious aura. While within 30 feet of you, creatures of your choice as well. So if you piss them off, like if you,
you'd be like goodbye.
Yeah, if you piss off the
deep underwater, and you go bye bye now.
Well, within 30 feet of you.
I guess it would also not only give them water breathing, but it would also give them that pressure resistance thing.
Yes, and share your and have advantage on blah blah blah. Copy and paste. There's not in addition. You have advantage on saving throws made to resist the effects of high pressure environments. More than 30 feet of you, creatures of your choice can breathe underwater and have advantage on saving throws made to resist effects of high pressure environments, which means I don't actually need that bit because you are a creature within 30 feet of you at all times. Aquatic animals have an affinity. Oh, an interesting thing. I think it might be too. This might be a bit too cruel. Some of these aura effects. There's precedent for it in the paladins. Paladins have auras that, like, while within 30 feet, you and your allies cannot be charmed or cannot be frightened or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But then it specifies at the end you must be conscious to grant this effect.
God.
So if we put that for the Murgols, that they must be conscious to make it breathe underwater, and then you get into an underwater fight and the Murgol goes down, everybody's suddenly like, oh fuck, heal the Murgol.
No.
Oh fuck, heal the Murgol, heal him quick. That could be fun, but I think it's
that could be quite funny. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe
too mean.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if adding something to the saltwater ones is making them to OP now, but Red Isle has a good idea that they could like do a kind of bubble spit from their spout, or from spitting.
Bubble.
Like a bubble attack.
Oh right, when underwater they can attack with air essentially. They can
Yeah.
I don't think it's needed in balance terms because
Yeah.
we've got to remember that not only are they getting these subclass things, they're also getting all these other
Also
things.
getting the other things, of course. Yeah.
Everybody's amphibious and they've got natural
Yeah.
weapons already.
I don't think
There's
we
no
did it
need
then
to
either.
give them a bubble attack when we've already got a fanged attack, claw attack, and
Yeah,
all the rest.
true.
And for the most part, you're going to be using weapons because they're going to be better than your natural attacks.
Yeah.
Cool. I need to reword some of this stuff to make it work, but I think we are pretty much done with the species traits. We should go down.
Nice.
I just want to show off the Murgol the Punisher again, just because it's cool and it's on
There
the other
he is.
page, so I'm not really showing it off.
I like the dribble coming out of his mouth. It's very nice.
Yeah, like goo. We should go back up to the top, and with the last half hour that we've got here, just talk about some of this lore and environment, behavior, origin, appearance, all that sort of stuff. Here,
Yeah.
all this bump text.
What should we start on?
Let's start with environment because we've already started that. So, Murgols have spread. Actually, I'll put origin before environment because that makes more sense. And we'll work on origin later. Murgols have since then, I'll just say since then. I'm not sure when they would have been, but since they were created.
Why is Rowan in the drawings? Oh, that's actually not Rowan in the drawings. I know it looks a lot like him, but that's an ugly, horrible old sea creature.
Yeah.
It looks like Rowan. I know it's not Rowan.
Yeah, it looks like you can. If you look, you can see that the hammer is slightly different. And that's what gives it away.
Yeah.
He is a topless barbarian type with a big hammer that's drooling.
And I know it looks similar, but it's not Rowan.
Since then, Murgols have spread throughout the lands, settling in a variety of places. Shush. Need to feed the dog eventually.
A nice little tune.
It's an alarm every 4 hours to remind me to feed Harvey. Settling in a variety of places. Some remained in coastal towns. Some remained at sea level in coastal towns. The thing about them being on land, I'll put in this bit. Land dwellers. In coastal towns, spending a great deal of time in the water, fishing and swimming and harvesting shellfish. Others moved inland to marshes and bogs. Others moved inland.
I guess it's like They migrated up rivers and streams to the mountainous.
Yeah.
Mountain lakes.
To marshes and bogs. Adapting to the poisonous and what's some words for dangerous waters? Poisonous waters.
Has Rob decided on a voice that can better Lord Conrad for these fishies? It's just.
And they're like, "What language is that?" And it's like, "Oh, it's common."
Yeah, that's just me speaking common. Do you not get it?
If you listen real carefully, others still migrated up rivers and streams to the mountain springs and hot pools. And then I'll just end off by saying, wherever there is a source of water, it is often possible to find a Murgol settlement.
Can they also change sex at will, like some fish? Interesting.
Up to you. I mean, could do. we should put that under behavior or culture probably. Let's jump back up and talk about origin. So like, were they created by the gods, or did they evolve from fishes? Or...
Yeah, I reckon they evolved from fish and made their way out of the ocean and decided to start living on land.
As yet, no god has claimed responsibility. Has claimed responsibility for the creation of the Murgols.
I can imagine gods having an argument. Who created this? Oh my god, they're fucking ugly and sound horrible. Who created this?
It is understood.
There's one god, like, with his head between his...
Like,
looking down
yeah,
at
who
his
did
shoes.
that?
Like, what?
It's
No.
gross, yeah. It's weird. Weird and gross. Whoever's did it probably got a fish fetish or something.
Right?
The guy, that one god's got, like, pictures of mermaids up on his wall.
Yeah.
It isn't said that they likely evolved from fish-like ancestors and migrated to land. There may have been some sort of magic in their backstories. Let's see. Fish-like ancestors and migrated to land. Since then, Murgol have spread throughout the land, settling in blah blah blah. Okay, that'll do for now. We've got behavior, appearance, culture. Oh, religion. Do they have religion? Because no god has claimed access to them. Do they either like not worship the gods at all, or they worship all of the gods, trying to find someone that will claim them?
As we were talking about gods just before, I was thinking that and going, have they kind of made up some kind of ocean god that they worship? I haven't.
That could be cool. There is a creature called a Kuatoa, which are basically fish-headed people in D&D. I don't think they're a race. I don't think you can play them yet, so they'll be under monsters. And the Kuatoa, I haven't thrown them at you guys yet. They're quite fun, but they're usually found underground.
Yeah.
In the Underdark and stuff. The Kuatoa are degenerate fish-like humanoids that once inhabited shores and islands of the surface world, but long ago they were driven underground, where they dwell in madness, and they are crazy. Basically, they were a slave race, and they were a slave race to the Illithid Empire, which are mind flayers that'll eat your brains and mess with your brains and stuff, and so it drove them crazy over years. And the cool thing about these guys is this feature here called God Makers. They worship gods of their own insane creation, but if enough of them believe that god is real, the energy of their collective subconscious makes the god real.
Oh my god!
So they create crazy, random, nonsensical bullshit, and then that thing genuinely generates god powers, which led for a really fun arc of a home game that I ran once, where they were down in the Underdark dealing with Kuatoa. They were trying to find an artifact, like an item. It was a rock that had like divinatory powers, like it was called the Seeing Stone, and if you held onto it during a short rest, you got visions of the future. And so that had ended up in the Underdark, and the Kuatoa had got it, and then they started worshipping it as a god, and so it started generally making god powers. And so by the time the people got there, this Seeing Stone had grown arms and legs and had like actual powers. And they had a big fight where I was keeping a track of how many Kuatoa were on the field, and every time that they got down to it, like they killed 5 of them or whatever, the god started to lose powers because there were fewer Kuatoa that believed in him. And so the only way to defeat that god, they realized like early on, holy shit, we can't do any damage to it. It's immune. Yeah, it's immune to it. Oh god, how are we gonna kill this thing? They were like, oh, it seems to be getting weaker when we kill the fish. And then they go around slaughtering all the Kuatoa, and for every 5 or 10 or whatever people they killed, the thing lost powers. Yeah,
that's so funny.
But yeah, that's a fun one. So so we could have them doing something similar, like they're trying to make up gods to be like, hey, I don't know who made us.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's they will have seen other races worshipping various gods and being like, well, we can't worship a god that's not a fish.
So they're just sort of making stuff up to be like, we should do that, kind of mimicking other people's religion.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we'll put this under culture. Murgols have
their affinity for stealing things means they've also stolen little bits and pieces of others' religions and cobbled their own sea-based religion together,
I like
and then
this. Murgols have a complicated relationship with the gods, having no creator god themselves. They have witnessed religious practices from the outside.
they've created, after the DM saying they've created a whole pantheon of fishy versions of other gods.
Like Odys becomes Ofish or something.
Yeah,
They have witnessed religious practices of other species, other cultures. I'll put other cultures from the outside, and
maybe that's why. That's another one of the reason they steal shiny things is just offerings to their gods.
And with their tendency to steal interesting things, they have cobbled together various cultures practices. To be fair, the more I'm writing this, the more it's just sounding like they're the British Empire.
Yep. Yeah.
They like stealing things from other cultures that they like and ignoring the parts they don't, and then pretending that they're pretending that those things belonged to them all along,
and then enforcing it upon the rest of the world.
Let's look at the various cultures practices in an attempt to find a god.
Racial perk appropriation. Yes.
Alright, so I've put Murgols have a complicated relationship with the gods. Having no creator god themselves, they've witnessed religious practices of other cultures from the outside, and with their tendency to steal interesting things, they have cobbled together various cultures' practices in an attempt to find a god that cares for them.
And I imagine they think that there's some like maybe similar to Loch Ness monster. Someone once saw this big kraken-like monster out in the ocean, and they think that's their god.
They have taken to worshipping, and then we should give this thing a name, something.
Oh, you know what I'd fucking love is they thought they saw some big squid octopus monster out in the ocean, and so they started worshipping that. And what it is some fucking Lovecraftian horror. It's actually a Dark Lord, and they're worshipping a Dark Lord.
That'd be good. They've taken to it, and their worship of it is giving it power. Yeah. They've taken to worshipping, and then we should give it some kind of a name that sounds sufficiently Murgol fishy. Name here.
Yeah. Wait, I'll ponder on that while you keep writing.
A supernatural creature they believe lives in the deepest parts.
Alderel, we're just talking about the Kuatoa actually. That's how we landed on this actually, but it seems like we're going in a slightly different direction.
Murgols love interesting things. They tend to have no qualms around taking those things, and are relatively good at doing so. The highest status Murgols, is there something to do with the status of a Murgol that can take the most interesting shit? Like if they've stolen the most shiny things, or is it because that's very bullywug?
Yeah.
Or is it more that they don't take it for status, they just take it for convenience and for...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think it would necessarily be a status thing. Yeah.
Murgols love interesting things. Murgols find... So it's not really the interesting things, it's that they just find useful things. Murgols tend to have little understanding of the concept of possession. They tend to have no qualms around taking things they see that taking things they see that they happen to need, and are relatively good at doing so.
I'm trying to think of a name for who they're worshipping, and I'm like Murgsidon or something. I'm trying to the consonants don't quite work in the middle there.
No. If there's a gemstone that will make a useful
Fish Sidon.
doorknob, they will take it. If a
Fishing
powerful
fish fest.
magical shield is the perfect shape to fix a hole in
Murgiden. That works for all the locker.
Murgiden kind of works. Sounds like
Murgidon.
Murgidon. Murgiden. There you go. I like it.
Do we want to put? Sorry, I'll let you keep right.
So I've just put that Murgols tend to have little understanding of the concept of possession. They tend to have no qualms around taking things they see as they happen to need. Taking things they see that they happen to need, and are relatively good at doing so. If there is a gemstone that will make a useful doorknob, they'll take it. If a powerful magical shield is the perfect shape to fix a hole in their wall, they will not see the harm in taking it. Is that about right?
I love it.
Is that what you got?
Yeah,
in mind?
I love it.
Yeah, cool.
And then I was just going to say, do we want to add at the end of this culture bit, the little do they know they're worshipping the Dark Lord? Let me pick a Dark Lord. Yes, Halden.
not the last one.
No, not the last one.
Creature that believe in the darks, the ocean. In actuality, the creature...
Yeah, shame it's not the last one, sadly. There is a list of Dark Lords, Fluffy Seagullman. A list of Dark Lords that is currently unofficial, so I'm not releasing it. There has only been 2 named Dark Lords so far.
We will
both of which have appeared in NPC Man sketches.
Yes. But watch this space. In actuality, the creature they have taken to worshipping is...
I'm going to put it in your chat so you know the
Lord,
spelling.
I was going to say, thank you, is the Dark Lord Ishaldan. Copy that.
I've just updated the lore document as well to set Murgol's worship as Dark Lord, known to them as Murgiden.
MacGyver.
How do we tame one of those things? Tame a Murgol? Well, they're sentient, so you wouldn't be able to tame a Murgol. You just become friends with it.
Yeah, friends with a Murgol.
Yeah.
Worshipping. Sorry, wait, what have I done? Worshipping. Got it. Worshipping.
And I love that it's giving the Dark Lord power that these fucking fish, these Murgol are worshipping him and
it is too, isn't it? Yeah, I was
giving him power.
worshipping. All right, so let's move appearance to the top. I think that's going to be the first thing that you're going to learn about them. Oh, and we should also usually playable races usually end with a section right before the traits on names.
Do they speak common? Yeah, Dark Karam. Some would speak common, as we're talking about ones that have tried to integrate themselves into. Well, I say some. Sorry, very, very, very few would have learnt to speak common.
Leviathan's a thing in Azerim. I mean, they can be. They certainly could be. In the ocean, we haven't really done a lot of exploring of the ocean.
Apparently we've still got the listing for... under subspecies, we still have the listing for freshwater, says Grown Dragon.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the reminder there, peepers. Thank you. Alright.
Do we want to put that? What language they speak? Which would be...
So languages is a thing that used to be in these sorts of things, like you can see in the legacy version of the lizard folk, the one they've gotten rid of. They've got languages down the bottom. You can speak Common and Draconic. But in the latest ones, you don't have the languages listed because the direction they're going with D&D now is to separate your race from your culture a little. So you can be a dwarf, but you don't necessarily have to have been raised by dwarves, and so dwarves don't necessarily speak dwarvish anymore. Like, it's more about your languages come from your background, not your race, which makes sense to me. Like if you are a Murgol but you've been raised in a library, like you'll speak
Yeah,
Common, and
yeah,
you
yeah.
might even speak two other languages.
You
as
speak
well.
Common,
But, like,
yeah.
if you're a Murgol and you've been raised by Murgols, then maybe you barely speak Common. We can say like they're not, and that's why I also haven't included anything about their strength and intelligence and charisma and all that shit, and whether there's a bonus or detriment to those, because that's
depends on.
It's how they've been raised. Like they can be raised by scholars and be quite intelligent, but
Is the Dark Lord slowly becoming a good lord because of them? I don't think so. He's just getting more power.
No. He's just like, yeah, keep worshipping me.
Yeah. The other Dark Lords are like, really? You're into fish people? Ooh. Like, yeah, but they're giving me lots of power. Thank you.
Born as tadpole-like spawn, Murgols reach maturity around the age of
maturity, probably reasonably quickly, like 10.
Like 10. Around the age of 10, at which point they strongly resemble fish with legs.
Yeah, I guess, like in my mind, the lower half is like a raptor, like a dinosaur,
Right,
and then it's got a whale. You can kind of see they've got a whale gullet, and like a reptile neck, like the under the gullet, fish head, shark tails, fins.
Resemble an amalgamation of aquatic animals. An amalgamation of.
So we're saying that the Dark Lord of the Deep from the comic with the voice. Yeah, why not?
Most commonly with cephalopod or cephalopod? Cephalopod-like gullets, fish fins, fish fingers, and raptor legs, and dinosaur and raptor legs. All have tails, or most have tails?
I would. Yeah, let's say all, because that then gives you still the ability to be like, this guy lost a tail because of whatever. Right.
Raptor legs. A
fish-based version of a raptor. Yep, basically.
At adulthood.
I did just throw a bunch of animals at you, AJ. I was like, I love the whale thing, and the dinosaur thing, and the raptor thing, and the fish thing, maybe shark. Let's put all of those together.
At adulthood, they stand around 2 to 4 feet tall and weigh around, what? They big and heavy, because fish things usually are pretty stocky and muscly, like thick with muscle. So I think a gnome, which is about 4 foot, is usually around 40 pounds. So if we make it a little more than that, I think like 60 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Around 60 pounds. There you go. Particular eye color. We've got this one being like reddish.
Yeah.
Murgol Punisher's also reddish.
Yeah, I think we'll just stick with that.
Cool.
Would Swamp Murgols be in competition with Bullywogs? Possibly. Because, they both like to take and steal random things,
Their eyes tend to be shades of red or orange, and their skin... shades in their skin and scales. Shades of blue, presumably.
Yeah. Blue and green, I guess you'd say.
Shades of blue or green.
And yes, Barradoon would be able to recognize them. He can, apart from the Barradoon in D&D, who has memory loss because of Laethal, he fucking knows everything about the world because he's been to every single corner of it and done every single quest.
Yep. Hatred of bullywugs. Did we say?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. All right, cool. All right. So we've got that they are sentient, but not sentient. We've got a couple bits of things that I could write at the top here, a little bit more about them being sentient, like just general introduction bump. But then we go into appearance. Just described all that. Origin. No one's claimed responsibility of them yet. It's understood they likely evolved and migrated to land. Environment. Since then, they've spread through the lands, settling in a variety of places. Some remained at sea level in coastal towns, spending a great deal of time in the water. Blah blah blah. Behavior. We can talk a little bit about their behavior. Actually, I've talked about them stealing shit under culture. So, is there anything else that we need under behavior other than like the bullywug hatred and?
Yeah.
I could turn this to like relationship to others. Relationship with other species. Murgols are what? They're nasty. They're friendly. They're like.
I think they're very defensive of their not culture of their. As soon as anything comes close, the spears come out, the claws come out.
Yeah, Murgols are defensive and aggressive towards foreign creatures, seeing most as a threat. And the smaller...
Territorial, that's the word. Thank you, Walker.
Murgols are defensive and aggressive towards foreign creatures, seeing most as a threat, and the smaller folk as food.
Yeah. I think even
right?
larger creatures, you know, if a human walked down the beach into their territory, they'd have at them.
Yeah. Most certainly...
but they're smart enough to know that if 20 humans walk down the beach to run. Yeah.
They are territorial. They're territorial and smart enough to know how to defend themselves and their homes. I'm just trying to think if there's something we can do with the bullywugs that's like, if they see bullywugs, they'll go for them above all else. Like they lose some of that smart self-defense kind of thing when it comes to bullywugs.
Yeah, and it's just hyper focus on that. Yeah.
If bullywugs a Murgol will lose some sense of reasoning.
And I think I'll let you finish that first and then say what I was going to say.
Fight more aggressively, less defensively.
Do they grow to large size with age? They do. In fact, they could even get to huge size with age, I guess.
No honor among thieves. Yeah, exactly right. Blind rage.
I was gonna say as well that their culture, I guess, what this was, not culture, sorry, their behavior, yeah, which this was called, that they again steal from things that they see of other cultures. So how their day-to-day behavior is you know, they've seen that human settlements have guards posted at the front entrance, so they'll do that. They see that, you know, there's one person doing the cooking and the cleaning, so they'll do that. They see that, you know, someone's mixing herbs together to heal other people, so they're doing a shitty version of that.
Most Murgol culture. This extends to. I'm going to put it down here. This behavior.
I need to bounce in 2 or 3 minutes, by the way.
All good. I think we're pretty much done here. I will need to format this, and then I think we're pretty much done.
And then there we go.
That's it.
Yeah. I reckon we should post this along. Well, I will get Ali to post this along with the photos of the Murgols onto the community page on YouTube. That'd be a great place to put it.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right. This behavior extends to other cultures as well, and Murgol Murgols will mimic what they see of other species behaviors.
Yeah, trying to mimic societal structure.
Posting guards and foraging and cleaning, etc. They fundamentally do not understand.
Like, for example, and like I think it would lead to things like they'd make a chimney in their house, but they didn't see inside the house
Yeah,
as to why the chimney was built. That's not a fireplace. They just built a chimney because that's. They're like, the human houses have these things that extend up from the house. I'm gonna make one of those.
Chimneys with no fires, and they will have chimneys with no fires and doors that lead nowhere.
Yeah. Doors that don't function, yeah.
Come on down to fake doors.
I'm going to bounce now.
No worries.
I'll let you
any
are you going to keep going for a few more minutes?
Yeah, I'm just gonna format it so you can read away. Just gonna format it, but the last thing that we didn't talk about was the naming convention. Do they just steal names from other things, or do they call each other by particular nicknames or anything?
While I kind of like the tie-in with stealing names, I think what I like more is that every name is just a compiled together mishmash of M-O-R-G and L.
I love that. Okay, cool. I'll use that.
Yeah, essentially it's just a whole lot of
Rabbinical name uses the letters in Murgol in a combination of syllables that their mouths can make. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming along for this fun little stream. I'm going to send you over to Rob, who will finish off the Murgols for a few minutes, and I'm going to get into work. Yeah.
No worries,
so many meetings today.
Thank you
very much, Rob. That was good fun.
Ta-ra.
I really enjoyed this. We should think about some other races and stuff to do this for
sure.
NPC Men World.
Sure.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Right, coming on over and stopping my stream, so I'm technically still on Rob's. Sweet. See you later.
See you later, man.
Bye.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in. Whoa, watch a raid. 134 people. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thunk? Who'd have seen that coming? Before you disappear, oops, not that one. Before you disappear, if you like D&D and you like this sort of content where we make monsters and stuff, this is the sort of thing I do here on the regular. So make sure you are following my channel. I do D&D related content, and if you like the Viva La Dirt League D&D thing that Adam and I are doing over on YouTube, every Monday following the latest episode, so like 3 days after the latest episode, I do a watch party where we talk about the latest episode. We watch it through, and I give you exclusive goss about what happened during the filming of it and like where it could have gone. And I tell you about behind the screen things of like stuff I expected to happen and what I had planned in case they went a different direction. All sorts of stuff that you don't get anywhere else. So if you like all of that things, if you like the sound of that, make sure you are following the channel. And then I also do a bunch of other stuff, like I play D&D interactively with the chat. On a weekend, we play a game called Twitch Tales, where you guys get to actually control the actions of the main character. Thank you, Cyborg Chipmunk.
Oh,
hey, Rest on Lawrence, thank you very much for the gifted subs. I really appreciate that. So this is a huge part of what I do for a living, so I really appreciate all of the support from donations and subs and bits and things. Let's go back over to this sharing page and look for, like, reopen the playable thing, playable race. We'll go over here, we'll go into there, transition, plow. let's finish off this playable race and format it and whatnot. Rob wanted to ask, how are you so good in mimicking? Just a lot of practice, that Karam. I've worked on voice work quite a bit. I'm not a great impressionist. That's the word. I'm not a good impressionist. I'm not good at like doing particular impressions of people, but I'm pretty good at mimicking sounds that I've heard. I'm a good voice box. Rest on Laurels donated a bunch of subs. I did see that, and I said thank you, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did. I said thanks, Rest on Laurels. Thank you, Rest on Laurels. Appreciate it. Also, I did a 3-hour It's Alive with Rob to make a monstrous race and a magic item. Yeah, that's right. We do all sorts of things here. We create monsters and things for the 21 out of 23 pages. What are the rest? You will not get to see the rest because this is currently in a document called Secrets, where I keep all of my stat blocks that aren't active for other things. It's not all of them actually. It's not actually that many secrets to be fair. Thinking about it, this is the document where I did have Scabather and Enderlin and all those things, but nothing else is. Nothing else is on here at the moment because we're not actually even got that many secrets, stat blocks and stuff that you guys haven't seen already in the game. What's on page 24? Just this guy. Secrets are no fun. Secrets are fun. Upcoming Azurim setting book. No, unfortunately not, Fluffy Siegelman. We are a long way away from being able to do that. I do want to do it at some point. I have intentions of making an Azurim whatchamacallit, but not for a while. Eventually we'll get around to doing that. We will eventually make an Azurim setting book. We've got a long way to go. Let's finish off this and then start formatting. Murgol uses names in the Murgol in a combination of syllables the mouths can make. It makes it very difficult for outsiders to tell them apart. Examples include Golmol, Ruggle, Muglamog, have high expectations for Rob's RPG system. I'll get there eventually, Felipe. Logmore, I like that. Logmore. Give me some of yours, guys. What else we got? Britta's smashing it. She's doing an absolute fantastic job. She's really doing a great job. Grumolg. Borlorgl. Grom. Just several B's in a row. B's are plosive. It's literally impossible to stretch it out. Muglurple. Muglurple. I'm going to put it as a B because it just feels right. Murgol. I'm going to go glurble. Glurgle. I'm going to make it a G. Glurgle. Rolgum. Lurplum. Typo, but I'm going to leave it. That's fun. I hope somebody comes into the chat right now and is like, what's happening? What is happening? Is everybody collectively having a stroke? That'll do. And so on. Alright, let's go back to the top. Let's have a little look. Murgols. Murgols are easily mistaken for Kuo-toa. Kuo-toa, or wasn't there another fish person? I think there was. Kuo-toa. Like Kuo-toa, Kuo-toa, they are sentient creatures with complex cultures, but not tending to be particularly intelligent. Unlike Kuo-toa, however, they are something. The leader has a special name, Jeff. I think Adam just wanted the letters of Murgol. I'm not sure if he wanted to be entirely strict on that. Like, it sounded more like he was saying, like, you use those sorts of sounds. It sounded like burbling and gurgling and things like that. The sounds of drowning with a few letters of M and R and G and L stuck in there. The one raised in the library is just Simon. Simon the Murgol. Hello, I'm Simon the Murgol. I'm Murgol the Punisher. Oh no, my identical brother Burgle. But I, Global, will avenge thee. Murgols are easily mistaken for Kuo-toa. Like Kuo-toa, they are sentient creatures with complex cultures, but not particularly intelligent. Unlike Kuo-toa, however, they are more thieving and slippery, and less focused on religion. Mistaking one for a Kuo-toa and underestimating them, expecting the madness of the Kuo-toa to give you an advantage has been the downfall of many an adventurer. As lacking as they are in intelligence, Murgols do get wiser, and some even smarter as they get older. The oldest among them, reaching formidable Murgols to get wiser and some even smarter as they get older. And grow larger. The oldest among them reaching formidable size and comparable intellect to average humans. As tadpole-like spawn, Murgols reach maturity around the age of 10, at which point they strongly resemble an amalgamation of aquatic beasts, most commonly with cephalopod-like gullets, fish fins and tails, and raptor legs. At adulthood, they stand 2 to 4 feet tall and weigh about 60 pounds. If allowed to continue aging, Murgols will continue growing. It is uncommon but not unheard of for a Murgol to stand even taller than a human. And are much stockier in build than even the dwarves. Their eyes tend to be shades of red or orange, and their skin and scales shades of blue or green. Just about time for a campaign using only homebrewed races. Yeah, man, could be. What kind of editor is this? Homebrewery. Thank you, Felagund. Maybe like the Urkins in Invader Zim, they revere height. Invader Zim. Never watched that. These versus the Knack McFeagles. Knack McFeagles are way smarter and quicker. They mess them up. As yet, no god has claimed responsibility for the creation of the Murgols. It is understood they likely evolved from fish-like ancestors deep in the ocean and migrated to land. Some historians speculate that the Murgols developed sentience through an act of magic. Others claim it was likely a creator god who has since regretted the decision and abandoned their creation. Since then, Murgols have spread throughout the lands, settling in a variety of places. Some remained at sea level in coastal towns, spending a great deal of time in the water, fishing and swimming and harvesting shellfish. Others moved inland to marshes and bogs, adapting to the poisonous waters there. What's a better word for poisonous? Adapting to the toxic waters there. Others still migrated up rivers and streams to the mountain springs and hot pools, settling in. I don't need anything else actually. Don't gild the lily. Wherever there is a source of water, it is often possible to find a Murgol settlement nearby. Behaviour. Murgols are defensive and aggressive towards foreign creatures, seeing most as a threat and the smaller folk as food. They are territorial and smart enough to know how to defend themselves and their homes. If encountering bullywugs, a Murgol will lose some sense of reasoning and fights more aggressively and less defensively. I feel like we could say more here. I definitely need to have these guys meeting some Murgols, don't I? Need to create a stat block for the Murgols rather than just a playable race. Because now that we've got a playable race, having a playable race and a stat block for them to fight would be interesting. Should stat up Murgol the Punisher, really, shouldn't we, as well? Punisher. I think that's probably when they get back to Honeywood. Or get back to that area of the world anyway. I should decide where Murgol the Punisher is and put him in the game. That god drank too much in a godly party, created these guys, and then woke up like, oh god, hide into the water. Why do they hate the bullywugs? That's a good question, we should write that. Murgols need to have a long-standing animosity for bullywugs. Some say this is because their cultures of stealing things from others conflicts with one another. Others say it is merely because of their proximity in semi-aquatic environments, environments driving them into overlapping territories without the higher reasoning required for developing mutually beneficial trade. Murgols tend to have a long-standing animosity for bullywugs. Some say this is because their cultures of stealing things from others conflict with one another. Others say it is merely because of their proximity in semi-aquatic environments, driving them into overlapping territories without the higher reasoning required for developing mutually beneficial trade. If encountering bullywugs, a Murgol will lose some sense of reasoning and fight. Some sense of preservation, and fight more aggressively and less defensively. Leroy Jenkins. In the Leroy Jenkins skit, the reference Murgol the Punisher lives in a cave. Yes, that's right. They both think they speak common better than the other one. Same reason rival gangs hate each other. Competition, yeah. Culture. Murgols tend to have little understanding of the concept of possession. They tend to have no qualms around taking things that they see that they happen to. I'm just wondering if this should come before the behaviour, if we've already talked about this cultures of stealing things. Environment, hot springs. Murgols have little understanding. But then this leads into religion pretty well. I think it's fine. By which I mean I don't care. Keep my head canon that Survey created them during one of the parties with the gods of drinks until it's proven otherwise. Murgols tend to have little understanding of the concept of possession. They tend to have no qualms around taking things they see that they happen to need, and are relatively good at doing so. If there is a gemstone that will make a useful doorknob, they will take it. If a powerful magical shield is a perfect shape to fix a hole in the wall, they will not see the harm in taking it. In using it as such, This behaviour extends to other cultures as well. Other cultures' behaviours, other cultures' traditions and behaviours. as well. Behaviors as well. And Murgols will mimic what they see of other species' behaviors, such as posting guards and foraging and cleaning. The species traditions and rituals as well. See of each other's species' behaviors, such as posting guards and foraging, cleaning, etc. They fundamentally do not understand the reasons for it, however, so will have chimneys with no fires and doors that lead nowhere, as well as some Murgols hacking at the ground to simulate farming. Sup, Hank? Do you have a good place to look at math for Necromancer Summoner build? My DM told us to go wild. Do you have a good place to look at... Do I have a good place to look at math for a Necromancer Summoner build? What do you mean by look at the math? Like... How... Like a place where you can do some min-maxing? Horse posts outside their underwater houses. Mimicking, yeah. Chimneys with no fires. Hitching posts where there cannot be mounts. And doors that lead nowhere. As well as some Murgols hacking at the ground to simulate farming. I kind of just want to keep going with some mimicking stuff because it's quite fun. Or what's another thing that they would mimic? They've got guards, they've got farmers. What else would they notice from the outside looking into a culture? What's one more like job that they do? Priests blessing other Murgols. Saw some poster about 2 years ago about not really something that can show the ways and stuff, but general min-maxing. That's down to you to work that out. Like, if you're gonna min-max, then fair play to you. That's one of the styles of people that people enjoy playing. But there's a real sense of laziness to to just take somebody else's build. Like, part of the fun of min-maxing is trying to find the optimal way to build the character. So just look up the character, look up the things that you can do as a necromancer or a summoner, and try and work out, oh, if I can do this, then what about if I can also do this thing, and then look it up and work it. I'm not going to give you a necromancer summoner build that you can be like, this is a powerful build I'll play, without putting any work in. Markets, that could be a fun one. Murgol's hacking at the ground to simulate farming, or placing junk on tables and walking round them as though at a market. I love that. I love this. They're definitely going to meet some Murgols because I love this idea. They're just turning up. They just turn up at a Murgol village, and there's a couple of Murgol guards they're like standing guard with their weapons and stuff, and they don't necessarily know what to do. They're not watching. They're just like they've turned around, and they're just like watching the stuff that's happening in the village. And they're just not doing a good job of guarding, so they can just walk straight into the village before they get seen, and then people draw on them. But they'll see them just like walking around tables full of junk, and it looks kind of like a market. But then you realise when you get closer, they're not exchanging any money. Nobody's picking anything up, or people are picking things up and then just putting them down again. They don't seem to understand. It's like they're trying to pretend to be at a market. There's just a Murgol just smacking the ground with a spade. Mortal flower blade. You could have seen Barradoon, and there's just one guy mimicking Barradoon, being a temple guy. Alright, that's their cultures. Religion. Murgols have a complicated relationship with the gods. Having no creator god themselves, they've witnessed religious practices of other cultures from the outside, and with their tendency to steal interesting things, they've cobbled together various cultures' practices in an attempt to find a god that cares for them. They've taken to worship Murgidon, a supernatural creature they believe lives in the deepest parts of the ocean. In actuality, the creatures they have taken to worship is the Dark Lord Ishelden. We should say something about Murgol priests. Murgol clerics and paladins often draw their powers from Murgidon. And have little understanding, little comprehension of how their magic works. I see where they tend not to get old. I bet a lot of them die in accidents when they mimic some behaviour without understanding of what they're doing. Yeah, mimicking with farming equipment. Mimicking weddings, no understanding of what's happening. Murgol underwater blacksmith just hammering at metal. I can imagine Murgol spellcasters saying the words and doing the actions for a spell with the chance of something completely different to happen. That could be quite fun, actually, playing a Murgol Wild Surge sorcerer and flavouring it as just like the Wild Surge is just because you don't know what magic is. Alright, we've got religion, they've got a complicated relationship, blah blah blah. Names. Every Murgol name uses the letters in Murgol and a combination of symbols in their mouth that can make it difficult for outsiders to tell them apart. Examples include Golmol, Ruggle, Golmalug, Lugmor, Alright, Murgol traits. Creature, type, humanoid. Oh, okay, so if that's going to be... I'm pretty sure we're there with this now, so that means I can just, nice and easy for the sake of... Look at this. Boom. Chuck that down there, and then grab my image, and cut it from there and put it on here instead. Look at this! Pow! Look, we did it. New playable species. On the next page we've got Murgols using this name, blah blah blah. Subspecies, we get down to here. Now let's go down to subspecies and find the old way of doing things. What was the old way of doing things? None of these are going to work. Lizard folk, you're not going to work. Dwarf, they have subspecies. Subrace. Two main bloody blahs. That's the wording they've used. So two main, or three main in our case. Three main subspecies of Murgols populate the worlds of D&D. Saltwater Murgols, marsh Murgols, and mountain Murgols. Choose one of these subraces or more, or one from another source. Blah de blah. Yeah. Saltwater Murgols live near the ocean. Is this how the dwarf then goes into it? Dwarf traits, blah 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 blah. Goes all the way down there, and then it's under the same things. Okay. Murgol traits, saltwater. Is there? What if I do that? It becomes black. Saltwater. I think it'll look better with film formatting if I do that. Marsh Murgols. Marshmallows. Yum. Saltwater Murgals live near oceans and are adapted to spending time at sea level. Amphibious aura, while within 30 feet of you, creatures of your choice can breathe underwater and have advantage on saving throws to made to resist effects of high pressure environments. Fishy friends, aquatic animals have an extraordinary affinity for your people. You can communicate simple ideas to any beast that has swimming speed. You can use this trait to attempt to cast Dominate Beast in such a creature using your Charisma modifier. Once you've used this trait this way, you must finish a long rest before attempting it again. Marsh Murgals live in swamps and bogs, and as such have developed a hardy constitution for toxic materials. You have resistance. We can what can we call that feature? I don't like bogborn. And we can shift this guy onto this page now. Murgol the Punisher. Murgol the Punisher. How do I put that onto another? Do I do it like that? Murgol the Punisher. I don't know. Don't know what I'm doing. I've lost credit Ajo now. Damn it. Murgol the Punisher. How do I put those on different lines? I don't know how this works. Why is that not going onto a different line? Where is the rest of it going? I did mountain and mountain-born. Marsh and marsh-born. Mountain-born. Yeah, maybe. Marsh-born. Swamp dweller. Marsh-born. Exude poison. You can emanate a cloud of poison to a 10-foot radius of yourself as an action. 10-foot radius of yourself? 10-foot radius from yourself. 10-foot radius. Emanate a cloud of poison from yourself. To a 10-foot radius. As an action, all creatures in that area must succeed in a con save. Poison damage. Attempts to life in high altitude. Create communities around hot springs. Resist to cold damage. Can spit boiling water at a creature within view. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Just need to fix this. How do I do this? I don't understand what I'm doing here. Do I need to include this as like 3 different texts and just put them all underneath each other? Murgol the... Oh, maybe if I do this. Maybe if I put a break in there. Break. Yes. I'm a fucking genius. Don't ever doubt it, any of you. I'm super humble as well. Shit, man, this is dope. Look at this. I've got a playable species, and we've pretty much done. This is the sort of shit that you're gonna get from the setting book. Modestest of anyone who ever modested. I know, right? That is me. Look at this, everybody. Can you imagine? Look at this as if it's a. Imagine this if it's a. Oops. Rob's screwing it up. Rob's a dumbass. Rob's not a dumbass. Rob's a genius. Remember, I just said it. Not bigger, idiot. Smaller. Whoop. There we go. Boop. Boop. There we go. Changes when I move it across different screens. If I move it onto my second monitor, it screws everything up. Wanted to give you PNG so they could slot into the sheet nicely. Yep, it was much appreciated. So what we've got here, imagine this, right? Imagine a whole book of this sort of shit, right? Where I've written out different playable races for the game and different monstrous stat blocks for people that you can meet, and all of the different settings, all the different towns, like information on Honeywood and Darkwood and Azerim as a whole, all the keep and Wraith and the Orgy Plague, history of the towns and Templar Calibor. I'm very excited to one day write the setting book for the game. But for now, I think we're done. I think we're done with the Murgols. That is a new playable race, a new playable species. I will make a new stat block for the monsters as well. I'll chuck a monster stat block together using this stuff. I won't do it now because I'm busy and I've got stuff to do. What have I got to do today? My overtime on things? Yeah, I'm good, but I've got to get jobs done. I've got to buy a new laptop and things today. So I better leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I appreciate it. If you want to see that stat block and use it as a playable race in your own games, please do let me know if it's balanced. Obviously, the balancing part of this is a big part of it. So, misspoke the word iPad. Don't know for sure that this is not a super powerful or super underpowered race until we actually play it through. So I do look forward to the day that that we do have all four of them and potentially a guest star playing as all Murgles in like a heist mission. That should be a very fun game, and I do definitely look forward to it. And that will help me to balance it to see whether it's actually a decent playable race as well. If you want to use it yourself, as Adam says, it'll probably be on their YouTube page or something. Maybe it'll be on their, I don't know if it'll go into their Patreon or something like that, but you'll just keep your eyes on all of the different spaces, the Viva La Dirt League D&D spaces and everything, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Glad I found you. Happy to be here. I'm glad you found me too, Crazy Ninja. On that note, if you are here from Adam's stream and you stuck around for the raid, maybe you didn't know that I streamed before, or maybe you didn't realise what I do as a stream, but this is a good taste of the sort of thing that I do here. Alright, I think that's everything. Thank you very much for the support. I really appreciate all of the bits and subs and donations. And if you can't afford to financially support me, I completely understand. You can support me in other ways by enjoying my content and spreading the word, telling other people where they can find me, commenting on the YouTube videos, and doing your things for the algorithm gods. I appreciate all of it. Your support in any fashion at all is appreciated. Thank you for it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I can only make these because of generous support from patrons, so please do consider supporting me over there if you can afford it. I really appreciate it. Thank you.